Hello and welcome to episode 76 of Stitched in Sweden. I'm Maria and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Stitched in Sweden. Today I thought I would come in and just give you a little update on what I've been working on lately before Christmas, because I have a lot of things that I have been knitting and sewing that are Christmas gifts, and so I will be giving them away before too long, so I wanted to share them with you before I do that. It has been a difficult last month or so here for me, and I'm not really gonna go into it too much, maybe ever, but maybe someday, not right now. But it has meant that I have had an unexpected amount of knitting time, which has been nice in one way, but just, yeah, of course it's nice to be able to knit, but anyway. I have a lot of knitting, and that's because I have been knitting pretty much all day, every day for the past 2-3 weeks. So, yeah, I'll just go ahead and start out with some projects that I have finished. I had my list that I had talked about last time with projects that I was planning on completing before Christmas, and some of those were presents, and some of them I have finished, and some of them, which more of the projects for myself, I haven't finished. But I have started working on some of them. So anyway, all that to say, let's just get started and I'll tell you what I've been working on. The first project that I have finished is the January mittens. These mittens are really, I really like them. They are a really pretty simple color work pattern to do, because the colors are never more than, I think, maximum 4 stitches away from each other, so you don't have really long floats in the inside, which is ideal for mittens because obviously you're going to stick your hands in there, and it would be annoying to be getting your fingers caught on the floats if they were long distances between the colors. But also it just kind of gives you a rhythm. I find that you get more into a rhythm when the colors are closer together, because you're switching back and forth kind of regularly between the colors. So anyway, these are the January mittens. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and I knit these in 2 colors of Ulysse, which is French yarn from Derirum Netra, and it's a sport weight. So here are my mittens, and I actually have made 2 pairs of these in the last few weeks. So one of these will be a gift and one is for me. So this particular pair is blocked and all finished, and I knit these ones in the darkest gray that they have, which is yeah, almost black, and then the second color is this more oatmeal kind of off-white. The other pair that I made of the same mittens, I haven't blocked them yet, but I made them in the same black, which I used for the cuffs, and the contrasting lighter color is actually more of a white. It's I think it's called ciel, which is salt in French. I don't remember French. So these are the 2 pairs. You can see they're just slightly different. I don't think that you can really tell the difference between the, well, yeah, you can see that this one is more of a bright white and this one is more of a oatmeal white on the camera, but it's slightly more obvious in person, but not that not that stark of a difference. But yeah, I still need to block the second pair, and I think these are going to be really nice. I had a pair of colorwork mittens which I wore all winter last winter, and I think the winter before as well, at least. And in the fall this year they got a big hole in them, and I was thinking about repairing them, but in the end I didn't. And I really like knitting mittens, so it was a good excuse to make another pair. So here these are. Oh yeah, so the other thing is that if you're going to knit 2 pairs of these mittens, you only need 50 grams of black technically, but it was very close. You may have seen on my Instagram stories I posted will I have enough yarn, and I had a tiny little ball of the black yarn left, and I still had to do one of the thumbs. And I literally had 10 centimeters left of yarn in the darker color. And so that's using 50 grams for total in the black. And now, because I used 2 different whites, I still have leftover of this more oatmeal-y creamy color. And then the whiter white I actually got from a friend, and she had made the same mittens in white and a really pretty kind of sea green color. And she had given me her leftovers from the white. And I weighed them and thought that I would maybe just be able to eke out 1 pair, and I did. But yeah, like I said, it was pretty close. Anyway, don't you just love a stack of knits? It's very satisfying. So here we go. These mittens are just lovely. And if you are interested in a pretty easy colorwork pattern that's free, again, these are the January mittens, and you can find them on Ravelry. Another finished project is this little hat, which I knit for a friend's baby. And this is a pattern by Caitlin Hunter. It's pretty stinking cute. I'm planning on adding a pom-pom, but I have a faux fur pom-pom coming in the mail with some other sewing things. So I'm not sure if I'm going to add that or if I'm going to make... I just have to see on the size of how it looks with this, because it's for a baby and I don't want the pom-pom to be overpowering, so I might just make a little yarn pom-pom, but we'll have to see. The yarn that I used for this is Vine Smitten DK in the Poe color, which is just a really nice light purple, white tonal. And this was a super quick knit. I think I did it in 1 evening. The only thing that I changed in the pattern was that I did a tubular cast on, which apparently I didn't do super well there, but that's fine. So I did the tubular cast on, and then because I was knitting this for a baby, the pattern comes with a child size, junior I think, and then adult. And I compared the cast on numbers for the child size with one of the Tin Can Knits free patterns, or one that I had in my pattern library, because they have such good sizing. Yeah, they just have such a range of sizing. I wasn't sure exactly how large a baby's head would be. So I looked in a Tin Can Knits pattern, and that was also for a DK weight yarn and had the same gauge that I was getting here with this yarn, to compare the cast on stitches. And I found that actually the cast on for a baby tin can knits pattern was the same as the cast on number for a child for this Caitlin Hunter pattern. So I decided to knit that size, and it also tells you like the head circumference, which I think was 16 inches for a baby. Maybe it was 14, I can't remember. I think it was 16. All of this to say, I knit the child pattern to size as it is in the pattern, except I took out an extra row of the bobble pattern because I knit it at first, and when I got to the part where I was supposed to start decreasing, I just knew that it was going to be too long for a baby. So I have enough of this yarn left to knit at least one more of these hats, and I think I will in a slightly smaller size for someone else's baby. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But that was a really simple, satisfying knit. Another thing I think that was different maybe from the pattern is, even though Caitlin Hunter used a DK weight yarn, she held it with a mohair, and I didn't hold it doubled with anything, so it's only DK weight, but I'm pretty sure that my gauge was still pretty similar to hers. Okay. The next pattern, the next finished project that I have is a pair of socks, which is my mom's Christmas present. So Mom, close your eyes, please. These are the socks that I made, and they're all blocked. Last time I told you that I was going to use some Cosmic Strings yarn, and I showed you that I had started the Cyril socks, which is a pattern from Danny of Little Bobbins. And although I really like that pattern, I found that on the yarn that I had, which was a slightly more variegated yarn, that I didn't really like how they were turning out, because you were doing this cute little cable pattern that the socks have, but because it was such a subtle cable pattern, I think it really works better on a solid or very close to semi-solid yarn. So I think I'm going to have to revisit that pattern and that yarn, because after I decided that it wasn't really working in the combination together, I just set the whole thing aside and picked out a different yarn and a different pattern. And this pattern, I can't remember what it is, but I will have to, yeah, I'll tell you. And the yarn is from Fru Valborg. She's a Swedish yarn dyer, and it's pretty nice. So it has a nice big cable down the front and then some little cables on the side and seed stitch on the back. It's a heel flap and just a normal toe, or normal toe, I don't know, whatever this kind of toe is, wedge toe. So yeah, those are also all ready to go to bring to Colorado when I see my mom. Another gift knit that I finished is the Oslo hat, which I've only finished one of them. I'm planning on making another one. And this hat is going to be for Thomas. He knows, because I needed him to try it on to double check that he was happy with his size, because the person who I'm going to make the second one for has a larger head than Thomas. So if Thomas wasn't happy with this size, I would have given it to the person with the larger head and made a smaller one for Thomas. But because Thomas is happy with this size, now I know that I can use the other yarn. I think I will make the same size actually, because it's a bit stretchy and it fits me well as well, and I have the same size head as the other person. Anyway, this is the Oslo hat. It's a pattern from Petite Knit, and it's I think this hat is a hat that you could knit for somebody who isn't really into hand knits, but if you, for some reason, still want to knit that person something, this pattern is it just really looks like a ready-to-wear hat, I think. So yeah, in that way, if you have somebody who you want to knit for, but you're not sure that they like hand knit style, I don't really know if I'm describing this well, but maybe you know what I mean, then I think this could be a good pattern because it really looks like a hat that you could buy in the store. That's basically what I'm saying. So this particular hat I knit out of Arwetta yarn. Yeah, it's called Arwetta Classic, and it is a 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon yarn, and this is what it looks like. This is a different color from the one that I used for Thomas's hat, but yeah, this is like the red, Christmas red, and the one I used for his hat is more of a burgundy. I think it's color 147, but I'll try and see if I can figure out what it was and mark it here. The nice thing about this hat is that you use this fingering weight yarn, but you hold it double, and you do need 3 50-gram balls of it. So that's one thing that's a little bit unfortunate, because you can't really, if you're making an adult size, you can't really take a regular 100-gram skein of fingering weight and double it, which would be ideal. You do need closer to 125 grams, I would say, at least, to make the women's size, which is what I made for Thomas, because he has I think his head is 55 centimeters, which I think mine is closer to 57 or 58. I remembered I measured it a couple days ago, but I can't remember now. Anyway, his head is a bit on the small side of adult heads, and my head is more on the large side of adult heads. So according to the measurements, he measures in for the women's size, and I measure in for the men's size. But if I was going to make this hat for myself, I would knit myself the women's size because I like the fit of this one. So it has a nice cuffed hem, I guess you would say, and I'm not really going to give away how they do it in the pattern, but it's smart and it's a pretty quick knit. Even though it looks like a lot of knitting, it's fingering weight held double, which just seems to go fast. So I can definitely recommend that pattern from Petite Knit. It's the Oslo hat, and I'm planning on making another one in green for someone else, and then I might end up making myself one, because I'm on the forever quest to find the perfect hat for myself. So we will see. The final sort of finished project which I have this week is my tencel sweater, and it's really almost finished, but it's not blocked, so I wouldn't consider it completely finished. But the only thing that I had left on this sweater was to knit the collar, and now I have finished that. So I actually haven't tried it on, and I'm not going to right now. But yeah, I will. Should I just try it on? I'll try it on. So now that my hair is crazy, I have the sweater on. Like I said, it's not blocked. It has been, all the pieces have been blocked separately, but then I sewed them together, and actually the only piece that hasn't been blocked separately is the neck. But otherwise all the pieces have been blocked separately and then sewn together, but I haven't re-blocked the whole thing since I sewed it together and finished the neck. Yeah, so I will just give you a little view of what it looks like. Here it is. It is a wider fit sweater, and I would probably, when I block it again, I probably will pull the length just a little bit, but it is supposed to be kind of a shorter, wider sweater, and I can't see my head, so maybe that's a little bit weird. Yeah, I think it could be nice over a dress or a skirt, and it's pretty warm, I can tell already. This is knit in Brooklyn Tweed Loft in the sweatshirt color, and I knit this as part of the preview knitting program with Brooklyn Tweed. And I just had the neck to finish for the longest time, but yeah, as I said, I had a bit of time, extra time recently, so I finished the neck. The other reason which had been kind of preventing me from finishing the neck for a while was that I knew that I was going to have to do it on magic loop, and I didn't really want to do that because it just takes a long time. But since I finished the rest of the body of the sweater, I got some 4-inch tips for my Haya interchangeable needles, and with those 4-inch tips I'm able to use the shorter length needle cord so that I can do 16-inch circumference or 20-inch circumference needles, which is also why this hat went so fast, because I was actually knitting it on hat needles for once instead of doing magic loop for hats, which is not fun. So once I had those 4-inch tips, I was able to use I think I used a 20-inch cord, not the 16-inch, because the 16-inch was a little bit too small. I don't remember. But I used a shorter length cord to do the neckband, which meant that I could just do it all in the round and didn't have to fiddle around with magic looping. So that made it go a lot quicker. But yeah, so this is the Tenso. It's a pattern by Emily Green, and it's in published by Brooklyn Tweed. Those are all my finished knitting projects that I have completed in the past month or so. So let's move on to what I've been working on. There are 2 projects that I've been working on knitting-wise that I still have on the needles, so I'll tell you about those now. The first one is another pair of mittens, and these are the Unstoppable Mittens, which is a pattern from Organic Knitters, which is a Swedish company. Here is the first mitten. I have done a Latvian braid, the first colorwork chart, another Latvian braid, and then the main chart is basically this every other stitches of the different colors, and then you have these kind of crossing over cable stitches which all come to the middle like this. And then on the back it looks like this. I have just held the thumb stitches off. So I'm knitting this mitten on my Haya interchangeables, my Haya sharps. These are a US 2.5, which is a 3mm needle. And I knit the cuff on 3mm. I think it's supposed to be 2.5mm, and I think I did this last time because now I'm wondering. Sometimes I mix up the US size and the millimeter size. Anyway, this size needle is fine for me. This is where I am so far. Originally I thought I was going to need to, I actually did knit this part longer because I thought it was going to be too short on the cuff, like that it was going to ride up and not be comfortable. But then I did knit further and then held off for those thumb stitches, and I just felt like, no, actually I should just knit it like the pattern tells me to, because it was more comfortable that way. Anyway, So these are the mittens. The original pattern is in a really pretty rust color and white. Now I have to check the needle size. Yep, 2.5 millimeter, and I'm knitting it on 3 millimeter. Yeah. Well, I thought that they might be that they were a little bit big. Anyway, Unstoppable is the pattern, and it's really beautiful. These are the mittens, and it's by Organic Knitters. Yeah, you should be able to find it on Ravelry. The yarn that I'm using is called Pernilla. This is from the same brand that does the Arwetta yarn, and it's 100% Peruvian Highland wool. I'm using color 334 and color 977, and I'm not sure which one is which, but one of them is an oatmeal-y cream color and one of them is a blush pinky color. So those mittens, I started them just a few days ago, actually. The other pattern project that I have been working on lately, but mostly I worked on it intensively about 2 weeks ago, and then worked on it for 5 days and kind of put it down a little bit since then, is the, not that it matters anyway. This is the Divide sweater, which is also a pattern from Emily Green via Brooklyn Tweed. And I have a little bit of a tangle here. This is the back piece. It's a pullover that has this kind of architectural pattern in it, which is made up of, it's basically a rib sweater, which if I had like used my brain a little bit and realized in the beginning that this was a completely ribbed sweater in twisted rib nonetheless, I don't know that I would have knit this sweater, but I really like the finished design, so I'm glad I'm doing it anyway. It's not that bad, but I do need to put it aside every once in a while because twisted rib all the time sort of irritates my wrists a little bit. I've just recently started the raglan decreases and bound off a few stitches for the underarm. And like I said, this is the back piece. So the front is pretty similar, but it's just a little bit different looking. You can see all that twisted rib in there. It's kind of crazy, but it's a really cool sweater also because like just all of that patterning is basically made from twisted rib and cables, like mini cables. It's one stitch over one stitch, so not that you don't need a cable needle or anything. I don't use cable needles unless it's more like, if it's more than 3 stitches crossing over 3 stitches, then I use the cable needle. Otherwise, I don't, because it's so much faster without. My yarn for this sweater is being held in this project bag that my friend made me, and the yarn is Brooklyn Tweed Arbor in the Degas color, and Arbor is their DK weight yarn. It's Tari, which is a US, I don't know if all Tari come from the US, I doubt it, but I'm not sure. But this particular wool comes from the US and is spun in the US and dyed there, I believe, as well. As is the case with all of Brooklyn Tweed yarn, I think. So this comes in 50-gram balls, skeins. I balled them up. And I think that I have used 2.5 so far. And I have yeah, I think I have 10 total. So I might have used 3 already, I don't remember. But that pattern is going well. It's just something that I just got a little bit distracted because the mittens were more critical because it has recently gotten very cold here. So with the hole in my other mittens, I just wanted to finish. I mean, I have other parts of mittens too. I just really wanted to finish the mittens first. And also, of course, some Christmas present knitting and sewing took priority. So I will talk a little bit about sewing projects that I've been working on. There are 2 main projects, and I have one of them here with me. This is now time for my sister to stop watching. This is a backpack that I have sewn for my sister, and I sewed it using my own kind of pattern design. I got inspiration for the backpack from Pinterest, and here it is. In the beginning, I wanted this top part to roll more so that it would actually stay rolled and tucked under, but I think a combination of a couple things, including a little bit too thick of interfacing that I should have not used all the way up to the roll part, as well as maybe making it a little bit short, made it so it doesn't really roll, but it still flaps over a good amount so that it's not sticking out or anything. She lives in Oregon and it rains a lot, so I didn't want anything to be too open on the top to allow rain to get in. This backpack is made out of black canvas, cotton canvas, and then this part is waxed canvas. I have leather for the strap here, and then I have just a gray kind of, yeah, I don't know what kind of fabric this is. It's just a gray fabric on the inside. And I also have a pocket deep down in there, but oh yeah, you can see it. Rifle Paper Co. pocket for a little pop of color, and because we are both obsessed with Rifle Paper Co. The outside here are pockets, and there's also pockets on the side. So that is the backpack that I made her. Again, this is just my pattern, and I think that she's gonna like it. And I am really happy with it, even though it didn't come out exactly as I had imagined. It's still 100% usable, and I think it looks really nice. So it's a good first kind of prototype for that design. I'm also working on a backpack for Thomas, and I have been, well, both of these backpacks have been promised for quite a while, but I am confident that both will be finished by Christmas. Thomas's is in the other room at the moment, kind of in pieces on my ironing board and sewing table, but I did bring a picture of the design. It's not super easy to see, but this is Nizo Craft, the Freedom backpack, and yeah, you can see. That's what it looks like. I actually have this as a kit from Nizo Craft, and she's on Etsy. You really like the kits because they come with all of the leather pieces, which kind of elevate the backpack to a new level. So like the buckle here is leather, and the zipper tabs are leather. So I think that's a really nice thing about buying the kit. Of course, you can also just buy the patterns separately and then source your own supplies. I think if I make it in the future, I probably will do that. Like if I make this bag again, this is now the third bag from her that I'm making. I made a, I think it's called the Simple Day bag or backpack for my mom. And then I made myself a kind of crossover crossbody purse. It was kind of a dark green color. I don't know if you remember that one. The only reason I don't know that I would buy the kit in the future is because it does ship. She is in, I want to say that she's in China, and I like supporting her because she is a small business, and I like her patterns and the designs, but now it is quite expensive to, it's not expensive, well, I think it's environmentally expensive to ship things from China, and although I like the quality of the leather and I like the canvas for the backpacks, the lining fabric is not my favorite. It's like a kind of nylon-y, yeah, fabric, which it's fine, and I used it for Thomas's bag, but it's not my favorite. So in my mom's bag, I replaced that lining. So already then you're kind of not using part of the kit. Anyway, I think it would be really great if she considered selling the leather pieces separately, because sometimes it's fun to be able to use your own fabrics, but then to have these leather pieces which kind of make the bag, yeah, it would be nice because they're really good quality. So yeah, I'm looking at it, but you already saw it. This is the Freedom backpack, and I will be able to show you this one when it's finished, because even though I'll give it to Thomas, he lives here, so I'll show it to you in the future. But I'm using the canvas that came in the kit, which I got a dark gray canvas, and I think he will just use that basically to carry his lunch to work, and sometimes he brings his laptop home if he's gonna work from home, so it will be a good small bag to be able to do that. The last thing I have here is some fabric that I bought from M is for Make, which is at misformake.co.uk, and this is some Rifle Paper Company fabric. This is a canvas, and it's just really pretty, I think. I got 1 meter of this, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but I have been wanting to make a tote bag for myself. I have the Range backpack that I made a couple of months ago. I think I made it around when I started my new job, so maybe in February or March. And I use that backpack every day, and I really like it. But I would also like to have a tote that I could use if I don't always want to have a backpack. So the reason why I made the backpack, besides just wanting to have a bag like that, was because last winter I was having some hip problems, and in order to try to stay as even on both sides as possible, rather than carrying a bag on one shoulder, I thought it could be better to have a backpack so that I was focusing on keeping my weight balanced, because sometimes if you have a really heavy tote, you might walk a little funny. And anyway, I was just doing everything possible to try to minimize the pain in my hip. So that was one of the reasons why I made the backpack. Now I don't have that problem anymore, and I still, of course, love my backpack and will continue to use it, but I'm ready to have an alternative option, which could be the tote. I'm not sure if I want this fabric to be on the outside of the tote. I think that I have enough fabric left over from my sister's bag. This black waxed canvas, which would make a nice outer fabric, and so I might use that for the outside and then use this for the inside. But I'm also just not totally decided on that yet. I have some leather straps which are in more of a kind of medium brown color, fairly similar to the brownest kind of, I realize this is a little bit green, but if you could imagine that color, just a little bit browner. I have some straps that would go well with this because of the similarity in color there. But I just don't know yet if it's going to be this as the main part of the bag or if it's just going to be a feature of the bag. So we'll have to see. I'm still planning on making some needle cases for myself, and I think this fabric could be fun to incorporate in there. The last time that I bought Rifle Paper Co. canvas, I made so many things out of it, and so there's just little bits of it in different places which I like. For example, my sister's backpack has a pocket with that. My backpack has a pocket. I have a project bag that my friend actually made me in the fabric, and then I also used the fabric to reupholster our kitchen chairs with, so yeah, it's kind of everywhere. So I don't really feel like I have to have a solid plan for this because I know that it will also be used in little bits and pieces at different times. I have some canvas fabric that's coming that's going to be this dark green color, so that could also be a nice combination, and I also have some which will possibly be a little bit lighter than this pink color, but I'm not sure yet. So I'll just have to see what it is when it gets here. Otherwise, my plans for my coat have changed a bit, but I'll talk about that later once I start to work on that more. I probably won't be until after Christmas. I am gonna go to the post office this afternoon and pick up some candle making supplies which have arrived. So I'm gonna try for the first time to make some beeswax candles, which I'm really excited about because I think they will make nice little Christmas gifts for, I mean, we don't have a ton of parties that we're going to, but just little hostess gifts and that kind of thing. You can see we got our Christmas tree and we got it pretty early. It's still November, but we will be traveling to the US for Christmas this year, and we wanted to get a tree here. This is the first Christmas tree that Thomas and I have had together because our old apartment was really just too crowded for a tree. And so we have rearranged the living room to have the tree in that corner. Actually, we wouldn't have had to rearrange the living room, but while we were putting up the tree, we just decided, hey, why not rearrange the living room? Besides the knitting that I have kind of on the go now, and I'm sure just some other little projects that will pop up here and there until Christmas, I am planning, there's only like one other big project. I don't even really want to say that it's a big project, but one project that I definitely need to do, which is to make a floor-length dress for Thomas's graduation. He will be graduating in December, and it's a formal event, so I'm going to be making a dress for it. I'm just trying to enjoy what I'm making and get through this difficult time, which I know I will. So that's all for now, and yeah, I know it's gonna get better, so otherwise I will talk to you soon. probably in the new year. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays.